Good day and welcome to Hanging Out with T. Roy. Today's show is brought to you by the Bahamas Business Solution and Gems and Pearls, Bay and Marlborough Street at Balboa House. Today on my show, I have Mr. Glen Pratt, professional Bahamian golfer, and we'll be talking about golf today. So welcome, Mr. Pratt, and how are you?
Very well, thank you. Thank you.
Yes, let's get right into it. You're a golfer for many years now, that I understand. And tell us about your early days and how you got started playing golf.
Well, I got started playing golf back in 1970. At that time, I lived in Yellow Elder Garden. We were some of the first residents in that constituency when it was developed. And we had, at that time, we had the Blue Hills Golf Course, which used to be a par 3 golf course. Mainly that's where all the local black Bahamian golfers played at that time from the 60s up until about 73. That was where you had access to a golf course on a regular basis. And I used to go climb up under the fence to go over there and look for golf balls, sell to the golfers to get money for school, for lunch for school. And one time I ended up I'll never forget, found a Ben Hogan 6-iron. And so what I would do after school in the evenings is, after selling my golf balls, is stand around and watch the golfers. And then in the evening, when they all leave the golf course, then I would use my 6-iron to try and emulate what I see them doing. So that's basically how I started playing golf back in about 1970.
And who were the early golfers at the time, Bahamian golfers?
Well, you had, the early golfers, we say early Bahamian golfers. It was the people I knew would have been the Roy Bowe, Nine Roll, George Turnquest, Sanford Sawyer from Sawyer Studio, Craig Flowers. All these guys were already around in golf. But you had a lot of the white Bahamians that were already established golfers who had the opportunities to play at the bigger golf courses, and they were more the dominant golfers at the time. When you look back in that era, you had people like Mike Taylor, Bobby Rose, you had Valo Proza, Bill McGovern. These are guys you don't hear about anymore, but they're extremely good golfers.
And how about Freddie Higgs? I already know that name.
Freddie Higgs, everybody knows of Freddie Higgs because of his ability to administrate golf. Freddie Higgs was an avid golfer. He was not a professional golfer. A lot of people think he was. He had a professional golfer's job. He was the director of the golf course at Paradise Island. It'll always be remembered in history as probably the best administrator we've ever had in golf in the Bahamas. And in saying that, I mean that to say, even as whether you bring in every foreign professional we ever had, Freddie Higgs was better than all of them. So it's a perfect example that should tell us that Bahamians have the ability to manage and manage golf courses and put on events and do everything that we're now replacing Bahamians with the foreign players now. But Freddie Hicks was a living example that Bahamians could operate and promote a golf course as well as anyone in the world.
Yes. So tell us, your early years in golfing, who did you get your first coaching from and started that program in terms of becoming a professional?
Well, at that time it was real easy, and I missed the name there. King Eric Gibson. King Eric was very involved. King Eric was what do we call was one of the stars. The King of Knights Club, and King Eric and his Knights. They were like the more popular musical stars around, but they were also very involved with golf. You had King Eric, you had Jim Downcombe. That was very involved in golf, and they had junior golf programs to introduce us to golf. They did a lot. King Eric did a hell of a lot for junior golf in this country. When you talk about professional golf, you had Roy Bowe, who was the owner of Jiffy Cleaners and the developer of the Comfort Suite on Paradise Island. He was more or less the trailblazer to really fight for equality in golf in the Bahamas. You had him, you had Ken Francis, and a number of other people that fought out. You had Basil Nichols, who was, an elegant guy, a first-class guy as it relates to golf. So we had a lot of example as youngsters. We had a lot of people to look up to. Not only were they extremely good golfers, but they were extremely good individuals, and they were great role models, and we still have them today. You know, people see Craig Flowers today, and they see him as, you know, the guy who's doing extremely well in the business that he's in. But Craig Flowers was always one of those people who you kind of looked at and wanted to be like. You know, one of the first Bahamian jet pilots in the Bahamas, and the stories were told because we're all kind of stuck at Blue Hill Golf Course. We had the ability to meet everybody and get to know everyone, and know their lifestyle. So we as junior golfers had the opportunity to start dreaming big right away.
Okay. And at the time, you had about how many courses? Blue Hills?
Well, you had, back in the 60s, 70s, you had Coil Harbor Golf Course, which was one of the feature courses. You had South Ocean Golf Course. You had Sinesta Golf Course, which ended up being Cable Beach Golf Course. You had Paradise Island Golf Course. Then you had Cotton Bay and a few golf courses in the Family Islands. And then you had the Shannon Golf Course, Fortune Hills, Bahama Reef, the Kings Inn Golf Course in Freeport. But it was, you know, I grew up in a time when golf was friendly to the young people, and we were very fortunate to be able to play all these golf courses. So the Roy Bowes and the Freddie Higgs and those, and you get Calvin Cooper, who's now in Freeport. I think he's just turned 85 the other day. Okay. They provided the opportunity and provided enough events and tournaments for us to participate in to really be as good as any golfers in the world.
And back at the time, was it a high cost to become a golfer?
For juniors, we were like the privileged. We were like the, you know, this was right after you know, the black government took over the Bahamas, and so, you know, everything was about learning. Everything was about introducing the young black Bahamians to things that we didn't have access to. The generation before us didn't have access to golf courses, so they were making sure that everything they missed, we got. And so they provided the opportunity. I didn't mention Life at Key Golf Course. So they provided the opportunity for us to play at all these golf courses, Life at Key and all the private golf courses included. We had the privilege of going and playing those golf courses free of charge. There was rules, there was regulations. You know, we had to pick up balls on the driving range. We had summer times. All the junior golfers had jobs at the golf courses during the summertime, whether it was just cleaning up the golf course, going in the lake for balls, or just assisting around the clubhouse, cleaning up the clubhouse, or washing clubs and doing stuff. So summertime was a glorious time for junior golfers because we all had summer employment right at the golf course and was able to play golf free.
And at that age, you wanted to be a golfer. You already made up your mind.
I knew when I was 10 years old, I made a commitment that I was going to be a golf pro. I still have the picture. I had played in my first golf tournament, and I remember it very vividly because it was the Independence Golf Tournament. It was 1973. And we had our first junior golf championship in 1973 at the Blue Hills Golf Course. And they also had the first Bahamas professional golf championship at Paradise Island. And we had Lee Elder, who was at that time the Tiger Woods of his time, came down and brought a number of pros down. And I remember I finished second to the last in the golf tournament. There's probably about 20 junior golfers, and I finished second to the last. And it's not because of my skill level, is because I didn't know any rules or any of the regulations. I just knew how to hit the golf ball, but I'd never participated in a golf tournament before, so I got a lot of penalties.
Okay.
But fortunately, what happened is at the presentation, myself and Roy Bosa and Paul Bow finished. He finished last. I finished second last. But we got our picture in the newspaper that morning with the presentation, and I think it had something to do with that being Roy Bow's son was involved in it. So, so I was fortunate to be a part of that. And when the presentation was made by Lee Elder and Roy Bow, someone I truly admired, presented me with the trophy, and I was standing there, and I made up my mind right there and then that I wanted to be a golf pro, and that's all I wanted to be. And I committed myself totally from that day to this day to just stick with golf, and that's all it's ever been in my world has been golf.
So after the junior years locally with golf, You moved on.
Yeah. Well, what I want to say, and this is for the junior golfers that may be listening now, in 1973, I finished second to last. In 1976, I won the biggest golf tournament, men's golf tournament, at age 13. The Eastern Open was the biggest tournament at that time, and I finished tied for first with Freddie Higgs, shot a 77 at Paradise Island Golf Course. So I made a total commitment after that tournament in 73 that I was going to learn how to play this game. And so I went to Paradise Island, and I did any job I could do to just be on the golf course. And I used to be on the golf course summertime from before sunrise in the morning until sunset every day. And when I won, I have the newspaper clipping and everything to show that. So when these guys talk, well, yeah, I used to help him when he was a little boy and stuff. And I have the newspaper where I beat all the Jim Doncombs and all these guys in 1976. I became a very competitive amateur golfer, even though I was still a junior golfer. But there was tons of super junior golfers.
And after, did you participate? There was the Steel Pockets and Herman Cup.
The Herman Cup. The Herman Cup was the main event in the Caribbean, and that was something that we all strive for every year. Unlike now, the guys prepare for it maybe 2-3 months before the tournament. At that time, we had to use the whole year to prepare because it was that competitive to make the team. And when we think of Herman Cup, there's one name that comes to mind, and that's of an English gentleman who's a Bahamian by the name of Mike Taylor. He's a CPA accountant here in the Bahamas, still around, and hasn't been given the recognition that he deserves. And hopefully y'all can get him on this show one day. But he was by far the most competitive amateur golfer we have had in this country. You couldn't make the Herman Cup team unless you get by Mike Taylor. And he kind of set the standard because he would practice, even though he had his business and everything. Every day he was on that golf course. Every year, if there's one person on the Herman Cup team, it was Mike Taylor. We had a lot of young golfers coming along at that time. You had Robin Nichols, you had Vernon Lockhart, you had Eric Gibson Jr., you had Greg Maycock and Phil Maycock in Freeport. You had Dwayne Sayers, and you had Kenny Lockhart. We just had a ton of very good golfers. And at any given day, during the mid-'70s, the junior golfers were as good as the professional golfers.
All right.
We were that competitive.
So after 76, did you move on to the States or the college?
No, I played golf. Yeah, I never forget. In 1980, I was ready to go off to the States to play golf, and I told Sanford Sawyer, I said, I'm getting up out of here. I'm going to the States. I'm going to play golf. And I never forget Mr. Sawyer saying to me, he asked me first. He said, "Pratt, have you ever won the national championship?" And I said to him, "No, sir. I've never won the national championship, but I could beat all these guys." He said, how are you going to leave the Bahamas and go try to be number one in somebody else's country when you haven't proved you could be number one in your country yet? And that made a lot of sense to me. And so at that time, I was an age where I was going to the nightclubs and, I was into the girls and all that stuff. So I wasn't as committed as I was early on. So I made a full commitment to go to bed by 10 o'clock every night, and that I wasn't going to leave the Bahamas to go play golf anywhere until I won the Bahamas National Championship. So in 1982, I basically dominated golf in the Bahamas and won the national championship in 82, in August of 82. And in November of 82, I went off and started playing professional golf in the United States in Orlando, Florida at the J.C. Goosey Golf Tour, which was in Orlando.
Okay, tell us about that experience as you emerge as a...
It was a... It was a very humbling experience because, when I left here, I didn't know nothing but credit cards and renting a car. And, I still had this Bahamian small island mentality that you can catch a taxi anywhere you want to go. And I'll never forget my first golf tournament was at a golf course, Cypress Creek in Orlando, Florida. And the next tournament was in Titusville, Florida. And I got up that morning and caught a cab to go to Titusville, because I'm thinking, ain't no golf course could be that far. And I'm in this cab, and, I didn't have much money. And the cab is driving, and the clock just, the meter just kept ticking and ticking, and it was up to like about $71. And I'm counting my money as I'm going. I'm saying, thanks. I asked the guy, I said, we almost there yet? And he said, no, we got still a little ways to go. So by the time we got to the golf course, I was out of money. And I was the type of guy that didn't mess with no one. I kind of stayed to myself. But I made up my mind when I got to the golf course that I was going to have to make some friends right away in order to get back to Orlando to my hotel. So that wasn't a good experience. I didn't do too well there, because the managing part of my career was totally unorganized,
And you were solo at the time.
Yeah, I was solo. Everything I did, I basically kind of sponsored myself. I was one that just struggled through everything. And so I had to kind of readjust and came back home to kind of look at it differently and organize myself a little bit better to take it on again. And so in 1984, I'll never forget, I left here with probably about $400 in my pocket to take it on again. And I started out in Miami, Florida. And I never forget, the hotel room I had was like $18 a day, and the bathroom, the kitchen, everything was in one. I bought a bicycle and used to ride I was on Biscayne Boulevard, go from one golf course to the next golf course, just kind of hustling golf and moving on. And I would just, after making enough money, just get to the airport and catch a plane to any city. And I ended up going to Detroit, Michigan, because I had read that there was a lot of hustlers and a lot of gambling in Detroit, Michigan. And so I went to Detroit, Michigan, because I felt I can, because one of the things that I learned very early on, having come from the Bahamas and having all the privileges of being able to work as an assistant pro and doing all that I had accomplished here in the Bahamas, that dream I had of going to the United States and being a superstar golfer, I didn't anticipate the prejudice and the racism and all that stuff, because we never experienced it here in the Bahamas. And most of the people we dealt with in the Bahamas were tourists coming here, and they were very friendly and very nice. And I kind of expected that to be the same way when I got to America, and I realized that it was totally different. So it was, again, ended up spending a lot of time learning how to survive. And I survived it, but it took a lot away from being able to focus on just playing golf.
Right.
Yeah. And Detroit was a good situation. I never forget my first experience trying to hustle golf in Detroit, and they were playing for a lot of money in Detroit. And I was there, and I was kind of a seasoned hustler at the time. When we say hustler, you go and you gamble. You gamble a lot, and you're a professional. And that's what a lot of folks did. And I'll never forget playing on this golf course, and I went there and I told one of the starter, I told him that I was from the Bahamas and I was just visiting. I was on my way home and I wanted to play for a little something before I go home. And he got over the PA system and told all the guys, he got a young man here from the island, so he want to play for a little something. And the guys invited me out, and we got it there, and they started calling all these bets and stuff. And I said, well, I'm on my way home, so if you take this money from me, it don't matter, because I'm on my way home, which was a lie, because I was just hustling them. And I got out there, and I won the first hole, and I won the second hole, I won the third hole. And this golf course was Palmer Park, which is known for, as a gangster golf course, not just a hustler.
Okay.
And this old man said to me, he said, son, if you're a pro, you better let these boys know, because you're going down in the park now. And when he said that, a fear came over my body, and I realized that I was in some trouble. And so I canceled all the bets. I told the guys that, look, I'm a pro from the Bahamas. I just wanted to be competitive and have a little round, but I really don't like gambling. So I want to cancel all these bets out, and we just go ahead and play golf and have fun. And you could see the stress just drop off of these guys' face. Well, I found out later on, these guys chop your finger off for hustling them, because even though they were hustlers, they were amateurs.
Okay.
And I was a pro hustling the hustlers who were amateurs.
And this is something common in professional golf.
Oh yeah, well but I was just learning the gambling process. Okay. I thought a hustler was just someone that gambled. You didn't care who it was. You just played the best players. Well, in this case, they gamble among themselves. So they end up kind of adopting me in Detroit, Michigan, to take on all the pros that came to town. Then they would back me against all the pros. So I became very popular in Detroit, teaching golf. But I was like the hitman in Detroit. Whenever the white boys came to town, Detroit is, predominantly a black city, and they had someone that was really good, all the hustlers would come get me, and they put their money behind me. So I made a lot of money doing it, playing golf that way. But Detroit became that became like my second home.
Okay, and your golf skyrocketed to the top at the time.
Well, it never skyrocketed because you never really got a full opportunity to meet your potential, because in the United States, then and even now, the white establishment would never give you an opportunity to work as a pro at one of their clubs.
So the climate was a bit...
It's still the same. It hasn't changed.
Even now?
It's worse now. It's worse. It's gotten worse since Tiger Woods. It's like every door that was cracked open was nailed shut after Tiger Woods took over and dominated golf. And that's why if you look back at golf back in the 60s, 70s, all the caddies on the professional golf tour were black caddies. And as soon as the money got big, you can't find one black caddy on the tour right now.
And tell us how the caddies work. People don't realize those caddies are very good golf players.
Well, even if they're not good golf players, they're good managers. A caddy is more of it's like having a psychologist on the golf course with you.
It's like
they're
a coach.
Motivators. They motivate. Yeah, they coach. They motivate you. They know how to read the greens. They know how to keep you pepped up. They know how to And caddies get paid a lot. At that time, they were getting 10%, but 10% of a little wasn't a lot. Today, 10% of a lot is a lot, and plus they get bonuses. So a lot of caddies now are making, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year because the money is so high now.
So it's harder to get into that field now.
Yeah, and it's the same thing basically. And coming back home, you find the same thing I experienced in the United States. I'm experiencing now in the Bahamas, where the money is. The white establishment come in and they close the door from the black pros, and we're living that right now in the Bahamas. If you look at Freeport right now, there's no white golf pros in Freeport right now because there's no money in Freeport right now. But the minute Freeport takes off again, you'll see them push all the Bahamian pros out, and they'll find a way to offer these jobs, and they'll write these job descriptions to disqualify Bahamians from even applying. And so we don't have that privileges of being able to even benefit from golf here. So it's a sad situation for me, for someone who's been in golf all his life and committed to golf all my life. And that doesn't mean that we don't need them, because we need the foreign pros in the Bahamas, because we need them for tourism. For tourist reasons, we need them because they have the connections, they have the marketing connections to pull people to the Bahamas, but we don't need them to cover all the jobs at these golf courses. The only job that really that they should have in the Bahamas is really if it's because an investor invests in a property, you want someone from his corporation or her corporation to watch their money. And that's usually the manager of the golf course or the director of the golf course that kind of watch the day-to-day activity of the golf course and make sure that all. But Bahamians are qualified to do that and a lot more. But these guys come down and they want to bring all their friends down and their family down, and they eliminate Bahamians in order to accomplish their goals.
In your golfing career, you are a pro as well, a local pro.
I've been a golf professional since 1982.
And you handle at least, I think it's 2 golf courses locally.
Well, I worked at Ocean Club. I started working as a golf pro at Paradise Island back in 84. I was the head pro.
The head pro?
The head golf professional under Freddie Higgs.
Okay.
And when I came back home, I worked at, back in 2006, I worked at Ocean Club as the director of golf instruction. And I was fired from Ocean Club basically for objecting to them bringing in foreign golf instructors to teach at the Michael Jordan golf tournament because these guys were no one special. They were, the same guys that I would have dominated in the United States. And I had no problem with them being here. It's just that when they were here during the week of the Michael Jordan, I didn't get compensated and they were making all the money. So I objected to it and got fired as a result of it. But it was a good sacrifice. Because of it, now Atlantis has made some adjustments. I took the blow, but now we have at Ocean Club, we have one expat that's managing the golf course, but we have 4 Bahamian managers at the golf course. So it demonstrates, and I'm thinking that in the future we'll have Bahamians running the Ocean Club golf course completely because the guys over at Ocean Club golf course are very qualified at what they're doing. And basically it's just hosting. All you're doing is hosting people. And the Bahamas, we have a history of hosting people. So that's not something that's difficult for us to do. There was a time when you needed a golf director to run the golf course. In today's environment, we don't because most of the corporation, the golf events are run by special groups from the marketing and sales department. You look at Atlantis, they're running basketball games and fishing tournaments and all this stuff. The sales, marketing, and accounts department run all this stuff. So it's just a matter of you coordinating along with those departments. So it's not as complicated as it used to be.
Yes, as we take our first break, we're talking with Glen Pratt, a Bahamian golf professional. I want you to hit us up on Facebook, Hanging Out with T-Roy, and give us some questions here. So as we take our first break, we'll be back. Welcome back to Hanging Out with T-Roy. Please just hook us up on Facebook, and we have our call line 676-4153, 676-4199. Yes, we're talking here with Mr. Glen Pratt, Bahamian professional golfer. I want to just talk a bit about your career as a pro at Cable Beach.
Well, at Cable Beach Golf Course, I was hired by Bahamas to basically close Cable Beach Golf Course. It was kind of a touch-and-go situation because you had a golf course that was known as the People's Golf Course, and they were getting ready to close it to develop the new Jack Nicklaus Golf Course, and there wasn't anyone who really wanted to deal with closing the golf course. There's a lot of controversy around it, so they gave me a consultant contract to close the golf course for them, which we successfully did without any public outbursts. It was a good learning experience. We had to deal a lot with the public and with the individual golfers to get things accomplished there and to be able to close the golf course and prepare for what we're about to have at the Cable Beach Golf Course, the Bahamas Golf Course. And I know that both government, the F&M government and the PLP government, have negotiated for local rates for the Bahamians to be able to play golf at the new Jack Nicklaus Golf Course. I can't say what those rates are. I can't say what the negotiation was because I wasn't at the table. But I would just encourage, the golfers and the different golf groups to reach out to Bahama and don't wait for it to finish to find out what's going on, but to investigate what the opportunities are going to be when it's completed.
Tell us a bit about that new Jack Nicklaus design golf course. I understand it's a gem of a golf course.
I can say this. I worked for Bahama up until about 3 or 4 months ago, and so I was a part of a lot of. I had access to see what was happening from the ground up, and I can tell you I am extremely impressed with that Jack Nicklaus golf course. I think it's going to go down as Jack Nicklaus feature golf course in the world, and it will be the best golf course in this region. And the reason I say that it's a stadium style golf course, which is the first stadium style golf course in the Bahamas. And what I mean when I say stadium style, it's designed for large galleries. So that means we'll be able to host major PGA Tour events there if they decide to do that. The uniqueness of the golf course is that we have the front side, which I call the tropical side because it's the flat side, the palm trees, the ocean view, and all that stuff that goes with being in the Caribbean. And then in the center of the golf course, we have a lot of hills and slopes and tree line, which is consistent with East Coast golf, Midwest golf. And then on the far southwest side, we have the lake effect, which is something that's totally, in all my years of playing golf, I've never played any golf course where you have ocean on one side, the hills and the terrain in the middle, and then you have lake effect on the other side. So I think it's an extremely unique golf course, and I know that that Bahamas is paying attention to every detail of making it a perfectly inviting golf course. I think it's going to bring a lot of tourists to the Bahamas just to play that golf course.
Yeah. Tell us a bit about where do locals play now? I understand that some locals fly to various islands to play golf locally now.
Well, you see, during the summertime, most of the country clubs, well, I can't say most. I know that Life at Key has a summer program for the local golfers where they can have a summer membership. Ocean Club does the same thing. So you have the people who can afford those summer membership plays, and they invite their friends out there, get so much rounds with their friends during the summertime. But the majority of golfers now go to Abaco and play in Abaco at the different golf courses. They got good rates. A lot of the local golfers go to Freeport and play at the Ruby Golf Course and the Bahama Reef Golf Course, where it's cheaper to do that than to play at Ocean Club when you're not part of that summer membership. You can take a flight down there and golf may cost you $50, $60 and you play all day. Right. Whereas here, at Ocean Club, it may cost you $120 to play 18 holes. So a lot of the golfers now are getting together and playing in Freeport.
Right. Yeah, let's go back to some place. Tell us a bit about your Herman Cup career, because I remember when the Bahamas used to win that tournament religiously, the Herman Cup, Steel Perkins.
Well, we didn't win it religiously, but we weren't far from winning it if we didn't win it. This was back in 1978 is when we won it in Freeport at the Kings Inn Golf Course. And what we had then is, like I said, we had a group of golfers that we had so many good golfers, and we were so committed to being good that we were just dominant. We were dominant when the Bahamas came, and folks know it's like it's almost like track and field now. You see Bahamas and Jamaica, you know that they're going to bring it, right. What I mean? And that's the way it was in golf. It was the Bahamas, it was Trinidad, and it was Puerto Rico. And basically the Bahamas was either win or first or second just about every time. But what we had at that time and we don't have now, and I'll now forget the Minister of Sports at the time was Kendall Nordich.
Okay.
And he was totally committed to winning. Freddie Higgs was totally committed to winning. And so they gave us every opportunity, everything that we needed in order to win, not just the monetary stuff, but the motivation. Kendall Nordich he didn't play golf, but he would show up everywhere. You'd see him showing up at the practices and everything else, because every sport that the Bahamas was involved in, he wanted us to win. And so we felt obligated to win. I mean, there was an embarrassment if you were caught out in a nightclub when during a month before Herman Cup or something like that. You start hiding because you don't want folks to see you, because you're supposed to be so committed to winning. And so I think that's what we had then that we don't have now. And also, I'll never forget Vernon Lockhart, and this going back to Sir Lyndon Penland. I remember he came from college and he didn't have a job, and he was around here for 3-4 months without a job. And one day I told him, I said, well, let's go to Sir Lyndon Penland. We'll go meet him at Goodman's Bay at 6 o'clock in the morning, because that's where he goes run every morning. And I took Vernon out there, and I was always the bold one. And I walked up to Sir Lyndon, and bodyguards came around. I told him, I said, Sir Lyndon, my name is Glen Pratt. I'm a golfer, and this is Vernon Lockhart. And Vernon Lockhart was our superstar. He was dominant in college. He was dominant here. He was the one that I looked up to and everybody else looked up to, because he wasn't just a good golfer, but he, went to college and all that. He was the first to go to college and all that stuff. And so Lyndon spoke with him for a couple of minutes and told him, call him at his office at 9 o'clock. And Vernon called him at his office at 9 o'clock. And at 10 o'clock, Vernon was the director of golf at Cable Beach Golf Course.
Wow.
Okay, that we don't have today. We don't have leaders today given jobs because it's a job that Bahamian is supposed to have. We don't have that today. So today, we have to compete with the foreign pros in order to work at a golf course. And if they decide you're not qualified or they don't like you, then you don't work. And that's basically the way it is in the Bahamas right now. Bahamian golf professionals are scared to talk because if you talk, you're out of an industry.
All right. Tell us about the Blue Hill Golf Course. It's taken a transformation now.
Yeah.
It was out of commission for a long time.
Well, it's gone. Blue Hill Golf Course is gone. We have a new Blue Hill Golf Course being built by Craig Flowers, and hats off to him. He's doing it quietly out of his own pocket, and the land is government land. It's under the authority of the Sports Authority and the Ministry of Sports. But Mr. Flowers, if there's one thing is going to be his legacy, is going to be this golf course. You'd have to go there and see it in order to understand. He's building. If you look at his building on Bay Street, and you see what the lawn is like at his building on Bay Street, well, that's what he's giving to the kids of the Bahamas. He's giving them that same. He's building us a country club golf course for the kids.
First class.
First class.
Okay.
Nothing. He's not trying to cut corners. No kind of way, and he needs help. He needs, and all you folks out there listening, he needs a lot of sand. So any corporate people out there who dealing with sand, Craig Flowers needs some sand at Blue Hill Golf Course, and you need to assist him because, he can only do so much. I know he had to have spent millions of dollars on the property already. It's probably about 5 or 6 months away from completion. But
9 holes?
9 holes golf course, but it's going to lend a whole new generation of young golfers to develop their skills to be champion golfers. Because today what we have a lot of folks who can afford for their kids to play golf, but they don't have anywhere for their kids to play.
Right.
And so I think that once this course is finished and they have somewhere to play and compete, and people be able to drop their kids somewhere where they're safe. I would say in the next 5 or 6 years, we're gonna have some golfers who are gonna be dominating in college and also being ready to go off to college and then end up playing in professional golf.
And also, golf is now an Olympic sport. I think it's 2016 Brazil. It'll be the first time again.
Yes, it is. I don't have enough of the criteria that it takes in order for us to be qualified for the Olympics right now. I met with Mr. Miller at the Olympics committee a couple of months back, and he's enthusiastic about assisting us in getting our organizational plans in place to if not for 2016, but to start the process of being prepared to be competitive in the Olympics. So I still need to meet with him some more and get a little bit more information so we can educate the public and then start preparing for us to be a part of that Olympics.
So tell me something. Are you the evolving landscape with Bahamian golf? Are you pleased with it? The whole aspect in terms of management.
No, I'm not pleased at all because what we're missing, and in this country, and I'm speaking personally, if you're a stand-up person and you tell it like it is, and I'm a stand-up person that has the experience. I've been in the United States for 25 years. I've seen what's out there. I know what we have here. I know that our talent here is good as, and the potential of our talent here is good as any golfers anywhere in the world, especially the young golfers, and we have enough of them. I feel that we're not given an opportunity, we're not given a stage to contribute and help develop golf in this country, myself included. I think that I had an opportunity to speak with the leadership, and I think the desire is there. But I think that the plate is full right now with other things that's going on, And I'm hoping to have more of a dialogue with the leadership so that I can educate them and hopefully they can make some more informed decision on how we move forward in administrating golf in this country.
Yeah, tell us about the program you run at the Blue Hills.
Well, I have a junior golf program, which is a free junior golf program. I've been teaching junior golfers free. I've had a free junior golf program since 1983. And it's every Saturday out at Blue Hills Golf Course right now we're from 3 to 5. And the only requirement for the program is that the parents have to attend with the child. And so we teach them free for 2 hours, teach them every element, every level of the game, the rules, the regulations, and the development of their golf swings and everything. But also they have to do well in school. They have to, if their parents say they're not doing well, then they have to sit out. And so we teach them free 3 weeks, 3 weeks out of the month. Every first Saturday of the month, they have to do community services. So we go and we clean up beaches in different areas, and that's their payment. And the reason I don't charge is because I never got free lessons when I was a child. And I always said that whenever I become a pro, I was never going to charge junior golfers for lessons. So I don't charge junior golfers for lessons. But at the same time, I have a passion for us to become, when they talk about there's no black golfers on the tour right now, I feel the Bahamas is going to be the first country to dominate on the professional golf tour. I think that Bahamians are not only athletically inclined, but right now we have with all the other sports that's going on, we're doing so well in other sports. There's a passion for everybody to want to step up in their sports. And we have a youngster in Stephen Bain, who I thought was going to be that individual. He's now in Canada working for Scotiabank. But during high school and college, he broke every one of Tiger Woods' record.
He's a local guy.
Local Bahamian guy. And I just knew that he was going to be the one to really do that for us. But he was he's one of these brain guys that just so much into education and hopefully at some point he'll start playing more. But he has like 3, major in accounting. He got a CPA and economics and all that. He's just one of these guys that want to change the world.
But you think he's at the Tiger Woods level?
Oh, he was breaking Tiger Woods' record when he was 15 years old. I was there coaching him in Florida. He was shooting 65s and 63s at 15, 16 years old. And we didn't talk about it a lot because he was in the States and nobody was really paying any attention to it. But Stephen Bain was as good as Tiger Woods has ever been as an amateur. He didn't win all the stuff because his father Donald, was very focused on them getting their education. Yeah, but we have some kids that are coming up that's going to do just as well.
So what about I think we have 3 women golfers played in the Pro Silk Classic here last year, May, and I think it's on again in January.
Yeah. Well, that was, to me, that was very encouraging to see that happen, and taking a lesson from it for hopefully that any other sponsors, when they come over with the men's professional tournament, will give the local pros some exemption to play in these tournaments, also to showcase their talents. I think the girls represented us well. There's a golfer that we talk about these girls, but we had our first female professional golfer was Frances Dunn out of Leifert, who played on the professional circuit in Europe and all over the world. Was very competitive golfer, and her mother was and still is probably would be known as the best female golfer ever played golf in the Bahamas. Another person that y'all need to get on this show.
Yes,
she was extremely dominant, and she was someone that I used to walk around just to watch play golf at Leifert. She was that good, and she's she's probably in the 80s now, not playing as much, but still playing. But these are people that we need to. That folks, we need to know where we came from in order to get, because these kids now, I watched them who are playing on the national teams, and I watch them with their arrogance, and they're walking around like they're big shots, and they're shooting 80s and 90s, at 16, 17, 18. When we were 16, 17, 18, if you didn't shoot 68, 69, you might as well hang your head up, grab your bag, and walk off the golf course. So they don't realize that they're so far away from where we used to be.
So what brought this? The federation, is it still?
No, what it was we had, the laws were under the Penland administration was every golf course, the head pro had to be a Bahamian. Okay, so that means you can get your director to run that golf course, but there was at least 2 Bahamian golf pro at every golf course. And so because of that, we had interactions. These guys wanted to have the best junior golfers at their golf course. So they used to give the kids everything they needed, golf clubs, golf shoes, everything.
And time to play.
And they teach them how to play golf.
Okay.
And the time to play golf. We played golf free from the time I was 10 years old up until 17, 18. I never paid to play no golf. But not only that, the pros used to give us golf shoes, golf clubs, and then they used to come out and watch us play because they were competitive, because they wanted. So you had pros helping the young golfers to be good.
And all of this has changed.
Now, the foreign golfers here don't even interact. I mean, at that time, back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, the foreign pros used to participate with the Bahamian pros. Now they come here to the Bahamas, they don't even interact with us. It's like they don't have to. But yet we go ahead and we renew their work permit every year. They don't train nobody. They don't teach nobody. And they don't hire no Bahamian pros. They'll hire an amateur and promote him to managers and all that, as long as they could eliminate the Bahamian pros.
Is the federation still involved with junior golfers?
The federation, you got to understand, the federation is more like the United States Golf Association. They administrate amateur golf. But the development of golf comes from professional golf. So if you kill the professional golfers, you're killing the development of golf. And that's what they're doing.
Okay, and tell us a bit about, I think at one point we had many golfers go off to college.
Yeah.
What is it today? We have
a lot of golfers. You have a lot of golfers that have gone off to college, a lot of golfers that have gone and come back. And we still have quite a few scholarships, not as much as it used to be. Again, it comes right back to professional golf. Amateur golf, the amateurs, let's say the federation, most of these guys, let's say, for instance, the current president, Gomez, who's the president of the BGF right now. Well, he's an avid golfer that just started playing golf maybe 20 years ago. Okay, he don't have golf knowledge. He have limited knowledge. He's good at what he does, and he's doing a good job. But he don't know the pros and cons of how to get this done. He don't know the networking of golf and the ins and outs of golf because he didn't grow up in golf. See, Freddie Higgs lived golf. Then you had people like Donald Bain. These guys live golf, and these are all guys who were passionate about us being the best. So they created opportunities. Mother Pratt was still even in golf. She was a part of that because we had Shane Gibson, Ricky Gibson, Shaggy Milford Lockhart got scholarship to St. Augustine, all because of Mother Pratt establishment in golf, not in golf, at the University of St. Augustine. So we had Bahamians who were creating opportunities for Bahamians. Today, we don't have that. We don't have anyone that has the passion for us to be the best. You know, everybody is just basically using their positions to get the perks from golf, to get invited to the events, to get invited to the cocktail parties and all that stuff. The passion isn't there right now for us to be the best that we can be, and that's what's lacking. We have the potential here. We have the people with the resources who kids are involved in golf, but they don't have no guidance. They don't have no one to direct them on how to go about getting your child to be the best that they can be.
So how do we get this back?
How do we get it back? That's going to come back to having more golf pros, and not by the choice of these owners of these golf courses, but by requirements through the Ministry of Labor that Bahamian golf pros have to be at these golf courses. They have to be involved in the administration of these golf courses. And if that's not in place, see, under Penland made a phone call. If you're not there, you know, Nine Roll was a friend of Celine and Penland. Celine and Penland was a friend to everybody. You could go to him, and if you tell him there was a problem, he'd fix it. If he thought it wasn't right, he'd fix it. We're not, and I'm not knocking anybody else by saying they're not doing it. The point is, if we can get back to where we were, we'd be in a much better situation than where we are now.
Tell us this good question now. How is Tiger Woods so much better than everybody? Compare him to, say, a local guy like a Wayne Bethel. And what makes him that much better?
Well, I think what makes Tiger Woods that much better is the fact that, you know, his father was a Green Beret. and his father was a golfer, not a great golfer, but he was committed to his son being a great golfer because the potential was shown from early on. So Tiger Woods was prepared with a Green Beret mentality. That's why Tiger Woods is mentally tougher than anyone out there.
So it goes back to the mental approach.
The mental part of it, and that's right now. Tiger Woods' technical skill is he's probably playing at a 60%. Okay, what's keeping him still at the top is because of his mental ability to compete. Tiger Woods still has the ability to dominate golf like he did in 1999 and 2000. He will get back to that point. There's a couple little things missing in his swing, but he'll get back, and that's it. That's his big advantage, is that he had all the opportunity, but Tiger Woods had a whole country supporting him. Because I was there. I was one who used to contribute money to Bill Dickey from the United States Golf, I can't remember out in Arizona. But these guys just go around the country raising money for Tiger Woods' father to take Tiger Woods to every golf tournament he go to. Tiger Woods didn't get there by himself. Okay. There was a lot of golfers all around the United States who contributed their $20 and their $30 and their $100 to make sure that his father had money to keep him playing in all those tournaments all around the United States for many years.
This as a youngster, when he was a youngster.
As a youngster. And once you get beyond the age of 15, 16, basically, the road to success is unlimited. If you're shooting in the 60s, 70 by 15 years old, if you're not shooting that by the time you're 17, you got an uphill climb.
So at that age, you should know that's.
Oh yeah, you pretty much know. At 17, I set the course record at Paradise Island Golf Course. I shot the course record of 66.
Wow.
And I was 17 years old. It was 1981. You understand what I'm saying? So
right.
if this was 1980. So if you're not doing it, and the thing is, the kids don't have what I had. They didn't have the golf course where I used to get on the golf course at Paradise Island Golf Course at 6 o'clock in the morning and be out there until 7, 8 o'clock in the evening. They don't have that access right now. So it's not that they don't have the potential that I had at my age. They just don't have access to the golf course, and the parents can't afford it.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you a question. Who's recording this history? Because I never knew about the Coral Harbor Golf Course and very little about the Blue Hill. But who's recording that history in golf?
No one.
Nobody.
No one. And that's why I walk around with a lot of pain in my heart, because I love golf and I love the history of this golf in this country. And I don't feel like I'm getting the opportunity to participate enough to establish some things. I'd like to establish a Salute to the Legends Golfers Ball every year, so we can bring all the golfers out and acknowledge these guys and women before they pass on, because we've got a lot have gone on and never got their roses while they live, and we have a lot of them still here. And I'd hate to see people like Bobby Rose and Mike Taylor and a lot of other folks that contribute so much to the development of this game. Bob Slatter, these are names, Jane Dunn, and you had many golf pros, foreign golf pros, who contribute a lot of the development to the golfers here in the Bahamas as a result of the policies that were in place at the time.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But we need to set the policies, and we're not discriminating. I say bring them in, but let's put some policies in place so they have they have some obligation to help assist in the development of golf in this country.
Yeah. As we get to the end of our show, man, you could give some shout-outs. Is there anybody out there you want to give us some shout-outs to?
No, not in particular. I just want to, the one thing I would, because I'm very passionate about seeing that this golf course that Craig Flowers is building out there at Blue Hills, I really want folks who can assist him to assist. And the reason why is I have 15 junior golfers that I'm teaching that I want them to have somewhere to play and develop. And I know that Jim Doncombe is doing the same thing. The BGF has a bunch of junior golfers. We have a young lady who's an assistant pro, I can't remember her name right now, at Life Key, that is participating in helping the junior golfers. And we need somewhere for these kids to be able to play golf. And Craig Flowers is providing that opportunity. But nothing is guaranteed. Craig Flowers is here today. It's not guaranteed. So let's operate with some urgency. And I know that the Minister of Sports, Danny Johnson, is doing all, because I've had conversations, he's doing all that he could with his limited budget and all the things that he has to do to try to help get this golf course finished. And he needs some help. So if there's any shout out, my shout out is those corporate sponsors out there, the folks with the big dollars. You can't take all that money with you when you die. You can't take all this material you got. So get with Craig Flowers, get with the Minister of Sports, and let's find out how we can go about helping Craig Flowers, the BGF, the Ministry of Sports to finish this golf course so these kids have somewhere to play. And that's the Bahamas, the Ocean Club, the Albany, the Life at Key folks, all of you golfers out there who know how important it is to be on the golf course and have to practice all the time. Because if you don't, we're going to end up on your golf course, and these kids are going to end up on your golf course. And here we got a place where you can provide an opportunity for them to play and not interfere with your golf course, with the big golf course. So let's all help Craig Flowers in getting this golf course finished.
Yes. And let me ask you a good question too. What about the lottery? You think is a good idea to go through with it for the help in funding in sport?
Well, if I wasn't a fan, the contribution that I see Craig Flowers is making to help develop, and I know I don't know enough of the lottery to say whether I like the lottery or not, but I support anything that Craig Flowers is doing right now because I like what he's trying to do for these kids. So if he's a part of the lottery, then I'm a big fan of the lottery.
Yeah, we need some kind of funding to help our top golfers, especially young kids.
Yeah.
And what about a lot of tournaments? I remember back in the day, it used to be
every week.
Now it's one.
Again, it comes right back to folks having position but not having the knowledge. See, the folks who are in charge of golf right now wasn't around when we had all of this. See, I was around, so I know what we had. And the people who were around are not given the opportunity to see. I can reach back to where we were. If we can get back to where we were, we'd be okay. We're so far back from where we were. But it's not that the folks are not trying, they just don't know.
Yeah, they don't know.
That's all it is.
Yes. Thanks a lot, Mr. Glen Pratt. Thanks for being on my show tonight.
Thank you.
Yes, and I want to say thanks to my sponsors, Bahamas Business Solution and Gems and Pearl. Until next week, hanging out with T. Roy.